All right, traders, welcome to the end of day recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tropica Trade Group. And we'll start with a couple of the big movers on the day. So, to start off with, our cryptocurrency and blockchain equity index is just absolutely on fire. So these are the kind of things that we do at Tribeca Trade Group. We bring out new products, new ways that you can gain access to the market, and I literally spent a couple weekends with one of my colleagues just going over names that were involved in cryptocurrency equities, not the actual cryptocurrencies, but equities that. That are involved in blockchain and in the cryptocurrencies. So, I mean, look at this has been an absolute home run. And, I was very happy to give these names to members. I mean, look at this thing. Go from basically $100 to 131. We put this together a little over a month ago, and just the performance has been out of control. So, at this point, considering the moves that these made, the moves that have been made in this index that I put together, I'm happy to show you some of the components at this point because I think the move has already been made. It's GBT, just to look at some of the moves today. I mean, it's been absolutely out of control. Riot up 28% today, up to $36. SRAX, another name that my colleague Web Begol actually brought to my attention. Overstock, Mara, DPW, and then you have the chip names actually performing really well today. So this is a combination of semiconductors, names that hold cryptocurrencies, and names that are just in blockchain. A couple Canadian names in there as well. You can see this BTL also did pretty well today, up a mere 16% today. So absolutely on fire. And we gave this to Tribeca Trade Group members about a month ago. And wow, I hold a bunch of these, and really, really nice profits. So just wanted to kind of lead with that because that has just been absolutely tremendous. I think today it was up, the whole index was up as a group 10%. Just unbelievable performance. All right, so a couple other things here. We'll talk about there was a deal that was just announced. CBI, it doesn't look like there's much premium in the deal, but there's been a hell of a lot of CBI call buyers. Not so much in the other one, in MDR, but a lot of call buyers in CBI. So really interesting. Let's start with the day's performers. What a day. First of all, the S&P up another 60 basis points. Qs up 84 basis points. Remember when the Qs were in trouble a couple weeks ago? Now you can barely even remember that at this point. If you look, we are back above 52-week highs. Not even, I thought we might spend some more time down here, but nope. We got over this trend line and just completely moved out very, very, very nicely. So new 52-week highs for the Qs. IWM also very strong, up about 1.4%. Just almost, I would say, full participation. So pretty much anything and everything that you could ask for the last couple days in the market. I think it's gotten very, very euphoric right now. IWM not overbought. What's the RSI? I've been staying with it even though the market's been overbought. Now a 75 almost a 76 RSI. You look at some of the sectors. Also, transports were up. IYT up another 1.3%. That's IYR. This is IYT. Just unbelievable. And even with CSX in there as well, which I think ended up positive on the day. Yep, up 1%. We did structure a trade in CSX. We sold put spreads on Friday into really nice support. Again, the only time I will ever do that is when I've got defined support, and we sure did here at the top of value 51.78, and it held quite nicely. All right, so the best performers, and a lot of people don't have these on their watch list, but look at the Chinese internets, up 3.6%. Besides that cryptocurrency index being up 10%, this is your best performing group, up 3.6%. A lot of this was VIPS, which had announced investment from a couple other companies, JD and Tencent. Oops, that's not what I want. KWeb I want. But besides that, a lot of strength out of this group. WB, which we did see some call buying in today. That's Weibo up 5%. YY, which I got long last week, up 4%. JD.com, we also sent out a trade idea video on that. No slouch there, up 3.4%. Just a number of other names all very, very positive. Again, you can look at this chart here. I actually tweeted this out earlier. Let's see if I can put it together really quickly. But basically, what I look at is the K-Web versus the Hang Seng, and I notice when one is cheap or rich to the other, and especially the K-Web because that's the one that we play, not so much the Hang Seng. But when this thing gets cheap to the Hang Seng, let's see if I can find that Hang Seng. There we go, HSI index. So you had that opportunity this morning. You could see they now match up, but this morning you could see how much the KWeb ETF was below the orange line, which is the Hang Seng. Again, look at the correlation over time with this. So anytime the candlestick chart, the KWeb ETF, Chinese Internet ETF, gets below the orange line, is basically a good place to buy. Even though we saw a put buyer with KWeb on Friday, which made it really, really confusing. But other groups that did pretty well, XRT retail continuing to move higher. Now trying to get above that trend line that I have drawn. So above this little hump, we see that in a lot of different stocks. Steel names on fire, SLX up 2.7%. It's the SLX ETF. We did see a call buyer in XME. That's the metals and mining. Not a huge play, but still aggressive. That's the XME ETF that we saw some December 29th call buying in. The energy names were also strong. OIH up 2.5%, XOP up 2%. Robotics names were finally strong. I did get long the BOTS ETF. I've been long Robo for a long time, but look at this. Woo! Back above the 50-day moving average. This is what I wanted to see. So and higher than we've been. So up 1.8%. You can now use your 50-day moving average as your stop price in the BOTS ETF, but a group that has kind of gotten beaten up. There's a lot of Japanese securities in this BOTS ETF, believe it or not. It's, it does have its share of US names in there, but it's got a lot of Japan in there, which rallied overnight. So both BOTS and Robo up very nice. I'm long Robo in my IRA. I'm now long BOTS in the TTG cash trend portfolio. So really, really nice performance all around. I think the only thing that was down today was utilities, which were down 1%. So true risk on day today with the utilities underperforming and basically everything else outperforming. I see consumer staples were just about flat for the day. The option activity was pretty awesome. We talked about the Greek ETF in the weekend newsletter, and right off the bat we saw a call buyer in this. So I actually got long on this today. I feel like I'm a little bit late. But sometimes when I just don't get into these trades and I point them out, I get very angry at myself for pointing out a trade and then not getting in. So I did get in today, kind of a small trade. It was one of the few trades that I initiated today. The other trade that I took new today was Masco. Real nice looking trade in the money calls. We put in, I devised my own trade. I did not want to buy in the money April calls. So I put together my own trade for that. You have to be a member, obviously, to see that trade. But I like the chart here. I like how it found support at the 20-day moving average. And, there was some really strong home building, very strong home building numbers out. So if you just take a look at that. So I think names like Masco and the home improvement names will continue to go. But you had the housing market index this morning, 74 versus 70. And we have housing starts out tomorrow at 8:30. They have been showing upticks the last couple months. So we'll see. And if think about that for a minute. If there, the one thing that people are speculating, I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but people talking about mortgaging interest deduction, how for the luxury home buyer, that may be an issue, but so maybe there's more renovations. I think it fits right in line with. I think it fits right in line with home. Those home improvement type stocks may do pretty well. So I like it. I took the trade. That was basically it for me for new trades. Everything else was taking off trades today. We got into Twitter in the trading room. I mean, geez, what a home run. I'm long both stock, which I will stay long, and I'm long options, which I've been peeling out of. But we got long on this move. You hear a lot of people who were tweeting about it here and here. We got long here. So again, ahead of the game we are. Intel was another one, TTG swing trade that we just had to have a little bit of patience with. It hugged the 50-day moving average, but look at this thing go now and extend. I'm also long a couple other chip names that I've been kind of peeling out of. Finally, Nvidia turned the corner today. It needs to get above the 50-day moving average, but we did see a big weekly call buyer in that one as well. AMD, which I did not touch, but probably worked out pretty well as a day trade. We did that was right in the beginning of the day. We saw some call buying in this one, and then what I got long last week, ADI, we saw some repeat activity. Again, just beautiful turn on this one. Here was the call buying. Took a target on Friday. Took a little bit more off today. ASML, another one that we saw call buying on Friday, call buying today as well. So really the action is heating up in these semi names who got beaten up and kind of left for dead for about a week. And now since then, a lot of call buying, besides Intel, which was a little bit further ago, but a lot of call buying in these names. A little bit of positioning in Micron too ahead of earnings that they report after the close tomorrow. That should be really interesting. These earnings events are a complete toss up, right? I mean, we really don't know what's going to happen. That's why I'm taking some targets in some of the semi exposures, and I'm going to leave those winners to run. But again, we have a pretty unknown event that's happening after the close tomorrow. So again, that's why I'm locking in some profits and letting those winners run. A couple other names to mention on the day. We could go through just a few other. Again, it's just a lot of names to see call buying. Apple too. How could I forget about Apple? That was one of the first signals that we saw, and up to 52-week highs. So real nice move. We analyzed that one pre-market. Said it had a chance to go higher. Certainly did. STZ. This is Constellation Brands. I didn't see where this name finished. It actually finished down on the day, so it failed to break out. But a lot of call spreads being bought. So a name that I'm not in yet, but I'm kind of stalking for an entrance. I think I think the consumer staples might be. I don't want to say cooked, but kind of a reversal day for the consumer staples ETF. Started to go higher, finished lower. Notice this purple line. Sometimes when we hit these purple lines, we hit them and then we retrace. That's a virgin point of control. Just textbook trading with these. We search them out. Once we hit them, sometimes we fade. Could be what happens here to consumer staples. I mentioned XME call buying. Low, big block of July calls went up, but could be a stock replacement. I think that's what it is. Hain actually saw a nice call buyer out in May. SMTC, another call buyer and a semi name. U.S. Steel, look at all the U.S. Steel calls that traded today. Another name that I'm long in the TTG trend cash portfolio, moving on up here after kind of looked like the Masco chart that I just showed. A move into the 20 period moving average and a bounce, and a real nice bounce at that. Yelp, we also saw a couple. I mentioned Weibo. Really unusual to see Weibo calls. As I mentioned, we saw YY calls, another Chinese internet. I think that was on Wednesday or Thursday last week. Take a look at these trades that went up. A couple different times, not weekly calls that went up, weekly calls and the 29th calls. So they went after two different strikes. Again, not that small of an order, 500 contracts, but look at the premium, $120,000. If it was just like $20,000, I would say, not that big of a deal, but $120,000, that's a decent sized trade. We also saw a lot of rolling out of positions. We saw that in FireEye, kind of an interesting looking trade here in FireEye. They took down some of their January position, and look, they went out to the same strike, February 15 calls. So they're basically doubling down, both in the size of the contracts as well as the premium. So taking off like a $175,000 trade and putting down an $870,000 trade. I did not take this position today, but take a look at how the chart sets up in FireEye. I love these. Whoops, we don't need the Hang Seng on here anymore. Let me just take that off so you don't have to see that. Not comparing that one. But the only thing I don't like is what happened here. I don't want that here either. Sorry about that. There we go. Just ignore this line up here. But main thing I want to show here is the move down on earnings. kind of basing here and a reclaim of the 200-day moving average. So the only thing I don't like is the 50-day moving average crossing below the 100 like this. But for now, I would kind of ignore this and maybe say, hey, just go long versus the 200-day moving average and see what happens. So I might be looking to do that tomorrow. Looking at this with value areas and FireEye, I would watch the top of value and that 50-day moving average. So, really, if you're looking for confirmation, maybe wait another 50 cents. Or, like me, what I'll probably do is start a position if it gets above this first area of resistance, which is right around 1475-ish. So call it 1480. And then I'll wait for that for confirmation, get involved small, and then if it reclaims that 50-day moving average, the purple line, I'll get a little bigger. But I like this. I like this setup. And again, something different, right? At this point, I think we have to be looking for some different things. SSNC also saw a call buyer, and then Mara, another one of those blockchain names, which is in our index. So really, really nice, strong day. Just to kind of round this out, what did I do today? I'll kind of show you some of my trades for the day. Just so that you could see. Yeah, I exited. I took a target off in NVIDIA, took that new trade in MAS, took a target in YY, forced a target in Grow, another blockchain play. I took a small position in eBay. This is a spec play on possibly them starting to accept Bitcoin. I have no idea if that's going to happen, just complete speculation. ADI, Twitter took targets in, and in EIX, which I sold a put spread. So really, really a fabulous day and a fabulous week. And so that's it. We'll kind of have to see what tomorrow brings. I think the market is really, really heated here. So again, I think you have to look for some positions in different things and just kind of scale back a little bit. That's why we put on a lot of trades when the Nasdaq dipped, and now we're taking off those trades. So we're in the taking off of risk mode, and then waiting for another dip. Let the market ebb and flow. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.